Starting out Donald's Dreamland can be iffy. The first two parts focus a lot on NPC tasks, which some are focused on the Cashbot headquarters, while others are not, causing conflict in some tasks which may slow me down. I take the effort to try syncing the beginning tasks as best as I can, but the NPCs want incredibly varied things. I cut my losses on efficiency, and roll with at least 3 synced tasks. The first task I focus on is Nat's task, the beginning of my grind for the Cashbot disguise. He wants me to talk to PJ, and then PJ wants me to take down 10 Cashbots in Cashbot HQ. Not difficult at all with my maxed gags, so I return to PJ to get my next objective. He tells me to go back to Nat, and on my way back, I talk to Power's Urge, Rocco, and Susan Siesta for their tasks. They all just want one thing, so I prepare their tasks for when I'm done with my current one. Once I return to Nat, he wants me to collect some Cashbot HQ plans. I return to the HQ and handle that in 2 fights. Nat then gives me my first suit part, and his task is over. Thus ends the easiest and least tedious task I will have for the time being. Considering I will be needing a lot of buildings, boss bots, and standard cogs in Dreamland, I try to get my 4th task aligned with these. I eventually take Zari's task, as her task is quite lengthy, and will give me something to work with later on alongside these tasks. It won't sync with Rocco's task, who wants me to take out 50 boss bots, so I decide to focus on completing his task first, while making progress on Susan's task, who wants me to take down 8 4+ story cog buildings in DDL. DDL's buildings are almost always their highest tier, including 5 stories. This means I will have to take on cogs leveled from 9 to 12 and hardly any lower. Gag resource management and damage minimization are now required here, but I also basically need level 7s for top tier 5-story buildings. Needless to say, the first 5-story I try results in a 4-2 failure. I try another 5-story in a different district, but after seeing its tier with 2 cogs on the first floor, I bail for now. If I can afford to find a 4-story building, I will be in a good spot. I open up for just any 4-story building, since if I can just deal with that task first, I could just opt for defeating 50 boss bots on the street. I find a 4-story Cellbot building, which I take down without any problems. Since I'm not forcing myself on the boss bot building specifically, I opt to start Zari's task, as I will eventually need Cashbots to progress her task. She wants me to go to Cowboy George to deliver a zither, but after a district swap, his building is taken over by a 3-story Cashbot building. I decide to do it so I can progress on Power's Urge's task, who wants me to defeat 70 cogs in DDL. It goes down with nothing notable happening, as I can just burn my level 6 gags from the start. Going back to Zari results in me needing to make another delivery to Master Mike. Mike then wants me to defeat 70 Cashbots, so now I'm back to finding buildings. I find a 4-story Cashbot building, not too far away, and while I had some questionable accuracy rolls, I pull through thanks to Presentation and Geyser coming in clutch on the last floor. I then find a 5-story Cashbot building which starts out with a single level 9 on floor 1, so I commit to it in the hopes that it won't be such a difficult run. Second floor gives me a level 8, meaning that this isn't a top tier 5-story and I can play a little more aggressively and comfortably. I do have to use a wedding on the last floor because of my lure missing against a reserve loan shark, but aside from that, it was a very smooth building run. After a couple more building runs, I finish up Power's Urge's task and get an extra laugh point. I grab Lawful Linda's task as she will actually pair very well with my Cashbot task. Before going to her though, I decide to take on a 5-story boss bot building nearby. It isn't a top tier building as it starts with a level 8, so at least I can finally make progress on Rocco's task. Unfortunately, this building gave me such bad accuracy rolls on the later floors that I actually want to talk about it. Floor 1 goes fine. I just win that with a piano that actually hits. Floor 2 starts with a level 9 Big Cheese and a level 10 Headhunter, and I go for a Big Magnet. It does work, and I just opt to take the Headhunter as I don't want to risk taking 21 damage. I cream the Big Cheese and go for a Foghorn to kill it. Floor 3 opens up with 2 level 8s and a level 9. I go for Big Magnet, which misses. I do only get hit once, so I opt for another Big Magnet. It connects this time, and I take 1 turn to use my doodle for healing. I cream the Corporate Raider so I can finish him off with the Foghorn and get some AoE on the 2 other cogs. I only get hit once this time as well, so I go for a Big Magnet. It connects and I use my doodle again for some free healing before I kill a cog. I cream the Big Cheese and am left with the Headhunter. I decide to hose so I can save a little on creams. Floor 4 has 2 level 8s thankfully. So I open up once again with a Big Magnet. It connects and I take a turn to heal. I cream the Raider and then follow up with Fog. I've been dropped to 18 Laugh, which, while out of kill range for now, is scary. I go for a raw cream on the cheese to take it down. The two reserve 8 and 9 Raiders enter the fight and Big Magnet connects. I decide to cake the level 9 Raider for an easy one-shot and can stall the level 8 for healing. Unfortunately, Evil Eye connects, negating most of the healing I did while it was lured. My $10 bill misses and I'm dropped down to 15 Laugh. I try to lure again, and it works. I take 3 turns to heal and then hose to drop the Raider to 45 health. My next $10 bill misses, resulting in me taking more damage. Another attempt, and it works. I heal back to 50 and decide it was time to just kill the Raider. Then a level 9 Headhunter comes out. Cool, I guess I can just kill it with Piano. Nope! It misses. I have barely any low-level lure left, but I use $10 bill to at least get myself healthy again. Once I'm at 58 Laugh, I hit the Headhunter with a cream, and go for safe in the hopes I just don't have to lure again. It misses. All of that healing I did was negated, so I lure to just bring myself back up. Fortunately, Hose gets the kill afterwards. Floor 5 begins with a level 11 Raider, so I use $10 bill into Cake for an easy kill. 3 level 8s and a level 9 come out, which I take 2 of them down with Storms and use my last Storm on a Headhunter. Both of these cogs don't have knockback, so I just have to deal with it. A level 10 Big Cheese arrives, and I quickly kill the Headhunter with Hose. I have so little gags left that I'm not sure if I can even get through these 2 cogs, but I decide to gamble on a TNT against a level 10. I set it up and take some more damage, then go for Banana Peel. I didn't want to risk my lure missing, so she was perfect for this situation. The Big Cheese goes down, and I take 2 turns to heal before damaging the Downsizer. I go for Cream so I can kill with Hose next turn, but a level 8 Micromanager shows up in the elevator. My Hose then misses, and I'm dropped down to 14 Laugh. I go for Hypno, which thankfully works, and I heal for a turn. I kill the Downsizer with Hose, and I'm now out of Throw and Squirt entirely. All I can do right now is just heal until the Micromanager gets unlured. Fortunately, my Doodle brings me to 44 Laugh, and the Micromanager misses its fountain pen. I go for Piano, and it connects, finally finishing the building. I was brought down to 5 attacking gags left, with 1 being reliant on lure, and the rest being low accuracy, which was incredibly stressful, but at least it all worked out in the end. After taking on another easy 4-story, I talked to Lawful Linda to begin her task, which starts with needing 3 rods from bean counters. Since I only need 1 more building and a few more cash bots, I figure it could be time to start looking into methods of completing my tasks outside of DDL. I find another 4-story cash bot building, and that goes down without any conflict. I return to Mike, then Zari, then deliver a Zebra Zabudon to Zen Glen. He wants me to take out 25 mover and shakers, which is an unfortunate task to have when I already have a boss bot focused task and a cash bot focused one. But I can at least handle these at a slower pace. I then turn in my task to Susan Siesta to get a much needed increase in my gag capacity, bringing me from 50 to 60 gags to carry. I pick up Teddy Blair's task, who wants me to take out 55 cash bots in DDL. I find a 5-story boss bot building, and it starts with a level 7 Headhunter. So it of course goes very well. Then I take on another 5-story boss bot building, and it has 3 cogs on floor 1. I don't bother with this building after the first floor, so I instead go looking for another. I do find an easier 5-story building and take it down, although the last floor brought me to nearly running out of gags again, but I had a geyser to get me out of a really bad situation. I do some fishing to get beans back, and I actually get another laugh boost from catching 30 unique species. Wasn't really going for that, but the extra boost is still nice to have. I get the rest of the boss spots on Lullaby Lane, as I only needed a few more and didn't want to run through another building just for that. Rocco gives me 3 extra laugh, and I grab William Teller's task next. William Teller just wants me to collect a reading lamp from Cashbots. Since 3 of my tasks are Cashbot related, I opt to go to Cellbot HQ to fight 25 mover and shakers. I handle all of them in the courtyard and factory exterior. The rest of Zari's task is just role-playing as a delivery boy, which leads me to getting the 4-point laugh boost to 72 laugh. I start Drowsy Dave's task, who only needs 2 5-story Cashbot buildings in DDL. I don't force myself into doing 5 stories just yet, as I opt to deal with weaker buildings for my other Cashbot tasks. I run a 4-story and it goes well, giving me 1 rod and the reading lamp. William Teller then gives me another suit part for returning his lamp, and I take the task for the Countess, who will want me to defeat 25 number crunchers in DDL. It's unfortunate that this is restricted to DDL, as I could have just done all of this in Couchbot HQ, but alas. I run another 4-story and a 3-story to get the remaining rods while also getting a few more cash bots and number crunchers. I go back to Lawful Linda, who now wants me to collect a drive belt from Moneybags, which is obtained after another 4-story. The last thing Linda wants are a pair of pincers from Penny Pinchers, so I move to Donald's Dock to have a better chance at finding them on Seaweed Street. I get the pair on my second fight. Linda rewards me with an extra 2 laugh, putting me up to 74 laugh. I'm now down to the last 3 tasks of DDL Part 1, which thankfully all work together. Because of the overall difficulty of 5 stories though, I do prioritize my other COG-specific tasks rather than 5 stories, as I know that will take me a while even after completing the non-building ones. I finished the 55 Cashbot tasks after a couple 4 stories and a 3-story, giving me another suit part from Teddy Blair. I just have 2 tasks left, so I try to focus on the 5 stories. Unfortunately, most of them are failures since I deal with bad accuracy rolls and the requirement of nearly all of my level 7s. Nearly every 5-story I find is a top tier difficulty one, which makes this significantly more difficult. One major downside to this run is that there's hardly anyone playing, so these buildings just kind of exist for a very long time and prevent cogs from making new ones. It's unfortunate, but I just have to deal with it and try to work around my situation. On the first successful 5-story, I opened up with a piano on the level 11 on floor 1. Thankfully, it was just that cog, so I move onward. Floor 2 I do the same thing against a level 9 loan shark, which works. I get a level 10 and 11 Baron as reserves, and my big magnet connects. I have to take some pretty heavy damage regardless of what I use, so I opt for a Storm Cloud on the level 10. I use a Storm again to take out the level 10, as nothing else would reliably kill, and I wanted to not waste my cake on it either. I instead use my cake on the 11, which is still lured for an easy kill. Floor 3 starts with 2 level 11s, a 10, and a 9. I bank on my Hypno working here, and it does. I cake both level 11s so I don't have to deal with them. I go for a Storm on the level 9 and Cream plus $10 bill on the 10. Before I finish it off with another Cream, I heal with my Doodle back up to 72 laugh. Floor 4 has a level 11 and 2 level 10s, which get lured by my Hypno. I decide to use my Geyser here, as I would take way too much damage to handle if I couldn't use a 7. 2 level 11 Loan Sharks arrive, so I have to juggle the damage I take very carefully. My Hypno connects and I cream the right Loan Shark. The lack of knockback damage on both of these will make this very annoying, but I can try to manage. I set up a TNT on the Loan Shark I unlured, and next turn use my $10 bill to activate the trap. Since this is the only remaining cog, it has knockback and I can afford to just take it out normally with Lure into Throw and Squirt, with some heals in between. It goes down with 2 lured creams and a lured hose. Entering the last floor gives me just the level 12 to start with. Definitely the best case scenario here. My $10 bill connects, and before I deal any damage, I heal back up to 73 laugh. I decide to cream and then gamble on a 55% accuracy piano. Fortunately, it actually works before the reserves enter the fight. I get 2 level 10s and 2 level 9s for my reserves, so I use my presentation, heal back to full, and kill them all with a wedding cake. I was so sure that would be it, but then 2 level 11s and a level 9 come out. I can survive a singular miss, but this is still a terrible situation. I'm forced to go with my 60% accurate Toontown, and it actually works, giving me the win in this building. Even with all of my 7s, I barely scrape by and get out of a 5-story building. Because I earned these 7s myself, I won't have a certain duck telling me that I'm a selfish TTO player, as they would say back in the day. I get the remaining number crunchers throughout all of the districts on DDL streets, so I don't have to worry about it later. I return to the Countess, and she gives me the ability to carry 150 jelly beans. All that's left for part 1 of DDL is just one more 5-story Cashbot building. The next successful 5-story building was actually a lower tier run, so things went fine. Until the last floor. I got a set of 4 cogs for my reserves, so I kill the level 9 and cake the 10. The hose follow up on the 10 misses, and I'm in an awkward position. So I use Opera. The Opera then misses because that level 10 is still unlured. I take heavy damage even after 1 dodge because the other 2 cogs unlure. I opt for Geyser and finish off those cogs, which should not have been so annoying to deal with. I turn in my task to Drowsy Dave and get teleport access to DDL. I also get to begin part 2 of DDL, which has less NPC tasks overall. Despite the extra freedom in what tasks I can choose, I have to avoid every single Cashbot HQ focus task, as I have no reliable way to solo mints beyond the supervisor. I eventually grabbed tasks for 200 cogs anywhere, 20 level 11 plus cogs, 130 cogs anywhere, and to see Honeymoon. Because I need level 11 plus cogs, I decide to run a couple coin mints to get 8 of them with the skip. While I no longer am guaranteed to die if lure misses, I do have to be careful with entering these mints without 7s. Since I had to burn a wedding on my second run, I decide to move forward to field offices, which can give me a couple level 11s depending on difficulty. I went with 2 easier field offices on Sleet Street, giving me 2 level 11s. After those 2 field offices, I went with a Polar Place field office in order to get 4 more level 11 plus cogs. Despite being brought down to 12 laugh, it was a run that didn't have any real problems. I decide to talk to Honeymoon in order to start her task, which takes me to Ed, who wants me to defeat 30 number crunchers. Fortunately, this task isn't restricted to DDL, so I can handle this entirely in Cashbot HQ. Before doing so, I finish up my level 11 plus cog task with a couple more coin mints, this time on floor 7, which I have to utilize both the standard skip glitch and another out of bounds glitch after seeing that I may be able to do 2 fights. Since the parkour room gives favorable restocks, I backtrack to the final fight of the room I usually skip. Unfortunately, I have to get past the single stomper and box room that doesn't have a platform high enough to allow you to keep going. Fortunately, there's a barrel that contains a corner I can clip through as long as I keep forcing frame drops. Since I still have my other tune, Ugly Slippy, added on this tune from all the way back at the start of this challenge, I take advantage of constantly loading his tune details to trick the game into letting me clip through the wall, blocking me. It works out surprisingly easily, allowing me to enter 1 extra fight and win it with a Toontanic. I guess I didn't really need to go through all that effort if I was going to use a 7 anyway, but oh well. I complete this coin mint and the level 11 cog task after having used a JS Bark against the supervisor thanks to bad accuracy rolls. The next task I grab is for Dreamy Daphne, who takes me to Tex. After another return to Daphne and back to Tex, he wants me to take down 10 3+ story buildings. Thankfully, this can be done anywhere, so I move to the Berg for most of these buildings. I do eventually have to move to Minnie's Melodyland as I actually run out of easy buildings to handle in the Berg, but either way, all of the runs had no problems. With my current stats, I really won't be struggling with anything lower than a top tier 4 story, and even that is usually not so bad. Top tier 5 stories are the only consistently troubling things for these tasks. Running these buildings completes both my 130 cogs task and Daphne's task. I also get the last number crunchers I need in Cashbot HQ to complete the current step of Honeymoon's task. Ed asked me to defeat 65 Cashbots, which is also an anywhere task. Since I have some open slots, I get Sandy Sandman's task as well as Smudgy Mascara's. Smudgy takes me to Rip, who then wants me to fish up some cauliflower coral. After doing so, I have to fish for some slimy kelp. Upon returning, Rip then needs me to collect the pestle from Loan Sharks in Cashbot HQ. Unfortunately, this means I'm forced to do coin mints for this, but since I can do just 1 fight per run, I shouldn't have too much trouble. After some more running around for Sandy Sandman Big Mama, I am taken to Cat, who wants me to keep running around. Oh my god, I hate this task so much. It's literally just running around. This task is so boring and annoying. People complain about Oldman, but not the task that makes you run around the entirety of Donald's Dreamland without increased movement speed. How did I do this back in 2005 to 2012 multiple times? I don't know. Anyways, Cat wants me to take down 5 5-story Cashbot buildings after all of that. I do opt for the pestle task first though, as that is going to be easier to deal with currently. It takes 4 attempts, but on the 4th run I get the pestle and turn it into Rip. I return to Smudgy Mascara, who gives me another Cashbot suit part. For my free task slot, I take 80 level 8 plus cogs anywhere for some laugh. This task and my other existing cog-related tasks are completed with various 3, 4, and 5 stories in Minnie's Melodyland, the Berg, and DDL. Shifting my focus to 5 stories also completed newer tasks as well, all ranging from giving me laugh and increased gag and jelly bean capacity. Once I return to Cat and then complete Sandy's task line, I now can focus on Nina Nightlight's task, the final NPC task I will need for DDL. She takes me to Hardy O'Toole, who wants me to defeat 140 cogs in DDL. I did pick up a Cellbot task beforehand, but that's not my main priority at the moment. I do take down a 3-story Cellbot building that was nearby at least. I also do a few field offices in DDL, which all go well, although not giving me many cogs overall. The last field office I run actually results in failure because my lure missed 4 times in a row. My Hypno and $10 bill both had 75% accuracy on this set of cogs because of the 12, but I guess missing 4 out of 4 times makes more sense in this game. I moved to just doing any 4-story or lower building I can find instead, eventually completing the 140 cogs task after a couple street fights to top it off. I returned to Hardy, then Nina for another Catchbot suit part. Now that every NPC task has been finished, the rest of DDL Part 2, all of Part 3, and Part 4 can be completed with free reign in how I want to approach them. This is where my choice of Sellbot tasks come in. I planned this a little bit ahead of time, but considering that most top tier 5 stories will only net me a bit more than 20 cogs, and top tier field offices give me about more than 10 cogs, I can't really rely on those for efficiency. Even if I went for the lower tier variants, I get less cogs than I would like, and it's more likely that I would find lower tier field offices since they spawn more than Sellbot buildings. Instead of looking towards standard FOs and buildings, I returned to Sellbot HQ to run the factory. I could do long factories for 35 cogs, but I didn't want to deal with being forced to lure for more than the 3 silo fights. Instead, I take the side entrance for an easy fog in my first fight, another in 1 pipe room fight, a third in the warehouse followed up by throw, squirt, or drop. Then on the east and west silo, I cream the 6s and storm the 7s, while ensuring both 6s will have knockback. Then on the center silo, I use lure and kill all of the cogs with storm into my 3 cakes without concern of knockback, thanks to raw damage output killing all of them, including the foreman, as my organic cake is an exact kill without knockback. So, because of this, I finish DDL Part 2, all of DDL Part 3, and all of DDL Part 4 in 81 factory runs like this. I did get 10 cogs in the Sellbot HQ courtyard, ran 2 very easy Daisy Gardens Sellbot buildings, and did 5 Oak Street cog fights in between some of these runs. But aside from that, I ran all factories the exact same. I did get 1 accidental factory exterior fight, but the 1 cog made no difference in my process as I still needed 19 cogs to finish some tasks instead of 20, making me run a factory anyway. This includes the infamous 1000 cogs task, which would need 50 factories to complete, making up a majority of these runs. I see this as my own personal victory lap for getting through all of DDL Part 1 and all of DDL Part 2's NPC tasks, despite the trouble some of them brought me. It took me slightly over a month to actually handle this playground's task line, both due to difficulty and just taking breaks for real-life obligations, but it definitely was worth it. If you seriously want to watch all 81 factory runs, the raw footage I upload will of course be in a playlist which is linked in the description. Plus, you'll get to see how messed up the game can look after running a lot of factories due to some TTO bug. So, after completing my 81st factory, I finish at 103 laugh thanks to getting 30 new species from fishing. I also have my 80 gag pouch and can carry 250 jelly beans. I also have my Cashbot suit. I'll be honest, I didn't think I would have the patience to actually get through DDL. I found myself very frustrated with a lot of the buildings I would run and tried to brute force them, even though I was clearly not choosing the optimal plays. In the end, I did regain my composure and actually do things properly. In the past, when TTO was still up, I would always say that I just solo the taskline because X or Y reason, although I would just grind boss fights once I got to the end of the berg, and basically for all of DDL, which to be fair, that is more efficient. I am glad that I actually have done the solo that the me of 10 plus years ago would have wanted to do himself. That said, this challenge actually isn't over yet. I still have Professor Flake's taskline next, which is to get my Lawbot suit from him, and afterwards, Bossbot suit from Chap Ahoy. I still have all of the major boss fights as well, so I shouldn't get caught up in all of the sentimental talk anyway. Regardless, seeing as how the main taskline was finished, I do want to shout out one of my buddies for inspiring me to make this challenge run happen. Operation Tuna, as she initially wanted my help in some routing for her own solo Toontown rewritten series that she is working on. Once I started helping her with some potential situations, I realized I wanted to do my own run, but on TTO, so I wouldn't totally steal her idea. Either way, once she starts sharing her TTR run, I highly recommend checking it out, and once she does, I will have it linked in the description. A TTR run would have some interesting differences compared to TTO that can change how you approach it thanks to quality of life changes made over time, and the removal of TTO's version of field offices. Like mentioned though, this run isn't over yet. Hopefully the last stretch of Toontown Online will be relatively kind to me as I would like a strong finish.